My first time to be in Pitti, but Florence is very much part of my story with fragrance and with architecture, because I came here a long time ago, actually 15 years ago, to do courses in architecture and design. And in cities like Florence, I fell in love with historic architecture. And walking around cities like this that have such a character and also even a scent, sometimes when you visit a specific church or you go to a field outside in the countryside. And the reason for Arquiste to actually come into being, it was about trying to restore or to recreate this memory and this olfactive experience through all the ingredients that have to do, that make part of a moment and a specific place. So it's actually really exciting to be back here to present something that I've worked on so much and with such passion, and to present it to a city that has nurtured me so much in that. It's really exciting.
This morning during a conference, Chandler Bohr stated that a fragrance is a piece of art, like can be music, architecture, painting. What do you think about this? Do you think there is a strict relation between art and fragrances, and what's your opinion on this?
Absolutely, I think he's absolutely correct, and I very much support when he talks about fragrance deserving the prestige and the value of art, because if you think about it, all of art is about recreating the beauty of nature in a way. Sculpture, painting, architecture, all tries to deal with nature and with sensations, with spaces, with feelings. And perfume is something that is artificial in the sense that it's trying to recreate something from nature. It's trying to recreate the sense of a flower or of a wood over a specific experience, and trying to make it through a creative process, through a talent, through all the means of technology and technique and studies and aesthetics and everything that inform this. So I really very much think that it is a work of art. I think that it's a work of art like architecture is a work of art because they are practical arts. They are very close to the artisanal side of things. They depend very much on the talent of somebody's hands in a way, and they deal with the human body and they deal with space, but in different ways. Architecture is very much about creating boundaries, and perfume is about filling out these boundaries with something that is more amorphous, but it is nonetheless very much defining.
Could you please explain us what's behind Arquiste, what's behind this brand, and what you and your brand you're thinking to bring to the market in terms of innovation, for example?
Well, I think that there's always been a lot of interest, and there's always a lot of stories and storytelling behind fragrance. But what I wanted to do with Arquiste, and I think what I would like to communicate to people, is that all of these stories and all of the creative process behind a fragrance can actually be very seriously documented, and can come from very real, authentic references, without forgetting that we are creating a beautiful work of art. So just because something is very seriously made and very meticulous and detailed, doesn't mean it becomes something cold and belongs to a museum. What we're trying to do is something that can connect the past to your present and make it something that you actually feel can be very much modern again. That is actually not, it's tying your emotions to your intellect in a way, and to showing you that we live in a world that is actually very rich with ingredients, very rich with traditions, very rich with culture, very rich with a lot of these references, and that it's not only about creating something out of nowhere, that there is a connection between past, present, and future, and that the way that architecture reminds us of that, or the way that a painting reminds us of that, perfume can also have that impression. And so for me, what actually surprised even me as you know, behind the creative process when I first smelled the perfumes as finished pieces, was the emotional connection that I had to something that was in the beginning only in my head. And I realized that even if I was talking about a perfume based, and really based, not only inspired on formulas from the 17th century, that I still found it familiar, connected to my own life. Because I still live in planet Earth, because I still have access to or a beautiful orange blossom absolute, or I still have access to a beautiful jasmine accord that, you know, reminds me of places where I've been, things that I've seen, people that I've met. So it was really beautiful to think all this past and these beautiful things that belong in museums are actually not from another planet. They are very much part of our life still. And I think it's that idea of not forgetting that emotion is part of perfume, and also that like a beautiful concept and a very intellectual concept can also have a very deep soul. Specifically, I always see them as having a Mexican soul, and when I say Mexico, it's because it really is very much this cosmopolitan culture that I was raised with. I did come here when I was 17 years old until 22, and I would spend every summer here studying. I studied in Mexico City, then I studied in France, in Paris, and for some time now I live in New York. So I have a lot of references in my life that are multicultural. And this is something that I feel is very Mexican, and actually makes me more Mexican, because it's about, in a way I would like to say, it's about this mestizo culture of different cultures coming together, and how these different influences can actually live together very harmoniously. We do have this very much French sort of schooling of perfume. The perfumers that I work with, Rodrigo Flores and Jan Vasnier, are both French trained, and there is a very much French sensibility to the creations that we have. But for example, Rodrigo is also Mexican, and I think there's also this lightness and this openness and this like luminosity that is more of the New World. So in that sense, they're very much New World perfumes. We feed from old references and from the past and from different continents, but we are very much this idea of a new sort of openness and a new country such as Mexico. And they have the feeling, I think, and you know, obviously I feel very passionate about my country.
What values the customer is going to find in Arquiste brand? What is going to be the motivation that should bring a customer to your brand?
I think they should try to. I think they can approach it, and it's all really a matter of each person's taste and each person's needs, right? But I think that they should expect perfumes that are very, very beautifully crafted, that can actually cover a range of emotions, because it's not about just recreating, like I said, like a piece for a museum that is very much focused on the past only. Don't expect perfumes that are going to be old smelling or very vintage smelling. They're actually very modern compositions. And I would say that some of them are actually so classic that they are completely new, because we're rediscovering them. So they're a sense that can be familiar, but they are all about discovery. So it's about traveling a little bit with your nose. It's about discovery, I would say. And each one has a character that can surprise you in a different way. You might never think that speaking about a perfume about the Aztecs would make you feel glamorous or sexy, but it actually, that's probably something very interesting that it will make you feel, because of the white floralcy to it and because of the opulence of it, or something that you thought I have nothing to do with, 17th century France, and you'll find you have a lot more in common. And it's not that you're going to be smelling like Louis XIV or you're going to be smelling like an Aztec princess, but you're going to be smelling like yourself, just with this richness, enhancement of a moment that is not only right now for you to spray, but it actually belong to the world. So just with enjoyment, with lightness of being. In the end, this is something about the heart, and it's about emotions. and to enjoy the perfumes.